The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
We are back. Bronx Roots. Michael Preminger, Ralph Tycho, David Hubler. The middle guy, Ralph Tycho, the weak link of it all. And we're kind of back. I'm excited today because we're going to talk some Bronx Roots baseball. Yankee Stadium, the best dynasty of all time. And it was 1949 to 1953. David has some stuff that's fresh in his head to talk about, and Michael's here too, so thank you, gentlemen, for joining me on a Sunday. Go for it, David.
Okay, well, one of the things about the 49 and 53 is that Michael and I were in elementary school in those days, and you were at 94, weren't you, PS 94?
Yes.
So, did you have the same experience that we had in 80, in those years? When the World Series came on, we were still in class, but the teachers would always allow us to bring in a radio and play the World Series if we had been good in the morning, and in the afternoon we could sit and listen to the game. No, it's true. Did they do that at 94?
That I don't remember.
Because we did, and I remember distinctly. I mean, the girls all looked kind of bored for the most part, but it was almost every year, frankly. Right on through say 56, and then in 55 of 56. Yeah, that was the year of Don Lawson's perfect game.
Right.
We got out of class, and I remember rushing home to catch the last four innings or so on a little tiny 11-inch screen that my friend's family had. That was the first TV I ever saw, and but
right?
that was what?
What year was that, David?
Well, it was 56 when we watched the Larson perfect game. But I forget.
Right.
He had a TV about early 50s, because my earliest experience with watching television, I was already in my pajamas, and my mother let me. My best friend Stan lived right below me.
Is that Newman?
Yes, Stan Newman, right?
Hey.
Yeah.
I went an apple.
Great memory, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. And so so my mother let me get down in my pajamas and bathrobe to watch The Lone Ranger on television. Now, as a kid, I always listened to those 15-minute shows, like from 5 to 6 o'clock in the afternoon with all these different hero characters, like The Lone Ranger and like B-Bar-B Riders and all of these sort of Green Arrow or Straight Arrow. Anyway, so I went down there, and there was The Lone Ranger on television. This was a great experience for me, watching television for the very first time. In fact, I remember as well, just before that, maybe a year before, we're talking about early 50s, because we were one of the last people to get a TV. My mother didn't want one in the house. But my father had given me a subscription to Walt Disney Comics. They came out every month, and the subscription for a year was $1. And it would come in the mail every month. You'd get a new Walt Disney comic with a color picture on the cover and color stories about Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse and things like that. And I distinctly remember coming down, and we took it out of the mailbox, and my father was with me, and we looked at the cover, and there was Donald Duck looking at a TV, and I asked my father, what was that? I asked him, what is that?
No kidding.
Yeah.
What a great story.
So that
I
was,
remember seeing Howdy Doody on a neighbor.
Sure.
For the first time as a kid, and then shortly after my mother and father got a TV. But you
but
know what? It
that?
wasn't in color, and the first color experience I had with photography or anything was those old viewfinders. Did you?
The Viewmaster. Oh yeah.
Viewmaster.
Yeah. Right.
And we got the little software to go with it, I guess.
They didn't call it software.
Way to put it.
They will. If you recall, a number of years ago, Kodak came out with this camera, and it had a disc with negatives all the way around the negatives, and as you took a picture, it would rotate, and then you'd want
Yes, absolutely.
Remember? Yeah. And
absolutely.
I missed that one.
Well, and that was the equivalent of the Viewmaster. When I had some traveling aunts and relatives who, when they would take vacations, they would always come back. They'd buy a Viewmaster, came in a little sleeve of wherever they were, like the Grand Canyon or California or the Great Lakes. Mm-hmm. And so I had this wonderful collection of Viewmaster slides to look at, and of course they were 3D. The way it worked.
They were terrific. I had 5 or 6 that I remember. One was the Disney characters.
Yeah.
One was the New York at night. Pictures of
yes.
Mm-hmm. at night. Had Hopalong Cassidy, rather.
Right.
I channeled her at that. Hopalong Cassidy.
Cassidy.
And he was cool. And who else did? Maybe the Lone Ranger all in Viewmasters, and that was some great stuff.
There were hundreds and hundreds of them. I remember you could get a catalog, and there were so many. A little funny side story was I had them of like Old Faithful, and I had them, all the big national parks and San Francisco and all this stuff.
We didn't have that.
And so we went on a trip once, a guided tour up to the Grand Canyon, and we'd been staying in Phoenix, and we went up there, and of course you wound up in the gift shop. So one of the things was there was a Viewmaster there. Now I'm an adult, I've got children, and there's a Viewmaster. I hadn't seen them in 30 years. So I picked it up, and lo and behold, there was actually a slide in there, and I clicked it open, and it was of Washington, D.C. So it was like full circle, I had the Grand Canyon when I lived in New York, and then I came out to the Grand Canyon, and I saw where I was living now.
There's your house, right?
Not my house. No, I didn't get that.
I know.
No, I know you know.
The other day, and it sounds almost embarrassing, I was watching on Turner Classic Movies, a Nancy Drew movie.
Oh, I did the same thing. Go ahead.
Did you watch it?
Yeah, go ahead. No, really.
And in one movie, there was a bunch of them. Her boyfriend, I recognized the boyfriend. I think I did. His name is, I looked at it, Frankie Thomas.
Yep.
And I think he was the Video Ranger.
Well, you're close.
Hmm?
He was actually the space cadet.
Oh, okay.
He was he was on. Now I shouldn't have said you're close. My recollection is that he was, and Space Cadets was one of the shows I insisted on watching every I think it was on nightly for a couple of years, and I knew Frankie Thomas was on that show, and sure enough, he played the boyfriend, and those they only did 4 Nancy Drews according to what the introduction made. But it's funny that you watch. I watched the one called Nancy Drew Reporter. I didn't tape all of them, but which one did you watch?
Maybe he was in. Was there a serial Tim Tyler of the Jungle, or is it?
Yeah, it sounds familiar, Tim Tyler. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
If I recall, Frankie, because I looked him up a number of years ago on IMDb, And if I recall, he had a very tragic life after Space Cadet, that he didn't last very long. I don't recall the details. But they're kind of comic movies. It was sort of like the Andy Hardy movies. I mean, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, these weren't classic film noir movies.
No. But it's interesting the way the kids dressed in those days, because I guess they really did. I mean, she was the one I saw. She was never in like shorts, or she was always in a dress. No. And even Frankie Thomas in a couple of scenes was wearing a jacket and a tie when they were out doing something.
I guess everybody dressed nicely in those days.
I guess they did. I mean,
that's the right
Hey, let me
word.
give you a segue. Let me give you a
segue.
Please.
I'll take it.
1949 to 1953 baseball in New York. Yankee Stadium, the great dynasty. Everybody dressed. You didn't go to a game as an adult unless you were in a suit or a jacket, sport jacket, maybe a suit, probably a suit, and tie and a hat. That's just the way it was. But
yeah, if you look at any of the old films, that's what you see. You see.
Yeah, what a change from now. Everybody's in a baseball cap or whatever.
Or shorts, or t-shirts, and Well, I don't find that bad. I don't like it at the theater. You go to a Kennedy Center or down on Broadway, and you see people coming in flip flops and shorts and you know.
Yeah. I know you mentioned the other week that you didn't like it in funerals either.
No, it was weddings, not funerals. There
was a funeral story in there too, wasn't there?
Not that I recall.
Oh, okay. Maybe.
Just for a moment, I looked up Frankie Thomas. He was Tom Corbett's Space Cadet.
Right. That's right. Yeah, and Captain Strong, I forget who played the captain. He was in the series, and I just loved it. I just loved that series. I never was a big Captain Video fan.
I was going to say Captain Video. That was my time.
Yeah. Well, it's the same. One was on, I think, ABC, which was in Tom Corbett's Space Cadet, and then Captain Video, I think, was on the Dumont Network, Channel 5 in New York.
Yes, I think so.
I think Corbett was gone by the time I'm a few years behind you guys.
Yeah, you missed a lot.
I know.
Let me ask you something. In that Yankee dynasty, how many of the guys wound up in the Hall of Fame in that 49 through 53 years? Well, obviously Mansell and Berra.
Whitey Ford.
Ford.
Whitey Ford. 53. Who else? That's a good question.
Did Reynolds or Rashi?
DiMaggio was in that time.
Yeah, that's right. The last 2 years with DiMaggio. So he certainly would have been in that group.
But David, was it Reynolds or Rashi?
No,
they were not elected.
No.
They would never. Sane also. Sane could have been or should be elected as a pitching coach as well. A combined career. This guy was a pitching coach. And those guys were great. I did an interview once with Charlie Silvera, whom you mentioned a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
When you asked him someone asked him for a ball.
I did.
Oh, you asked him. Okay. And he says, well, come to my house for dinner. If I come to your house for dinner, do I get to take the silverware?
Yeah. So I didn't get my ball.
Yeah.
Is it interesting that...
Didn't get it. Would have been cute if he would have said, here, take it just this time, but don't ask for another one.
That's about... They had those 4 or so Hall of Famers, but the others were really classy ball players, right up and down.
Oh, yeah. They always had the right other players.
Right, exactly.
Now, it's interesting, I think, it is that the Dodgers had, well, let's see, Robinson, Reese is in, Snyder, Campanella, that's 4 right there.
Yeah, and Gil Hodges has not made the Hall of Fame.
Has not made it.
No.
And yet the Dodgers couldn't beat the Yankees until 55. It was.
Now, is Don Newcomb in the Hall of Fame? I'm not sure.
No, he's not. And I misspoke. I said Furillo should be in. Furillo shouldn't be in, but Gil Hodges should be in.
Yeah, there's a big movement. But every year there's a movement to get Gil Hodges in. I think one of these days when this old-timers committee is reconstituted, that they'll probably...
they change the voting rules every year, and they've bastardized it.
Speaking of baseball, I did want to mention something about baseball. Because actually, did I lose it on my screen? Oh, I did. Anyway, today, this Sunday, Memorial Day weekend, is the 64th anniversary of the longest doubleheader ever played in baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Between the Mets and the Giants at Old Shea Stadium.
Uh-huh.
And the first game lasted, I think, just a little over 2 hours. I had it up on the screen here, and then I somehow it collapsed on me. But anyway, the second game lasted 7 hours and change.
Oh, my God.
Making it the longest single game in terms of time, not innings, in terms of time that's ever been played. So it was a Memorial Day doubleheader between the Giants and the Mets and the Memorial Day weekend, which was always traditionally a doubleheader day.
In 64, am I correct?
Yeah, 1964. Mm-hmm.
I'd have gone to that game with my friend Marty, and my mother was in the hospital that weekend or whatever it was, and I went to visit her instead. My friend Marty and another friend Lenny sat through the entire game.
Wow.
Entire doubleheader.
And so you actually sat through 7 hours and 20. I just pulled it up again. 7 hours and 23 minutes. Over 23.
They did. I wasn't there, but that takes some dedication.
Yeah, and the Giants won 8-6.
Well,
the second game.
How long?
Is horrible.
How long a time was it between the two games?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me see.
Couldn't have been that long.
No, I think they usually had just about 30 minutes normally.
That's all?
Even less sometimes.
Yeah.
Ooh, you don't think it was an hour or so? I don't know.
I don't know if you guys ever remember going out to a doubleheader in Yankee Stadium, and invariably they put the lineups for the second game up about maybe 5-10 minutes after the first game, and there would always be this groan of disappointment. You would know it was coming, but Mantle wouldn't play the second game of a doubleheader. Who could expect him to? And you'd see number 17 on the scoreboard, Norm Seaburn in center field, or Bob Serve instead of Mantle. It's always this disappointment. Mantle had something, a charisma, that I don't think there was any other ball player, DiMaggio included. DiMaggio had this class thing, but Mantle had this, it was something. He glowed. I don't know what it was. You guys remember him as that?
Oh, yeah. He just had everything. He was this good-looking young guy. He was switch hitter.
He ran in
the way he ran, yes, ran in the power. Yeah, and it's interesting because especially by today's standards, he was not a big guy. He was, I think, they listed him at 5'11".
He reminds me of
interest.
Or Mike Trout reminds me of him.
Yes, people have made that comparison. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
Trout had a nice day yesterday, huh?
Yeah, there was a lot of disappointment though when he was drafted just before the Yankees were able to get hold of him.
Oh,
he's
wow.
From New Jersey.
Imagine him in New York all these years.
Yeah. Well, now, with the power lineup the Yankees have.
Wow.
Yeah. There had been some sort of trade, and the Yankees' position had changed, but they had their eyes set on Trout. Yeah, he's from New Jersey, so they had his eyes set on him for a long time. And I think he was. Of course, he never said so publicly, but I think he was a bit disappointed. There was intimations that he was because he had been a Yankees fan.
Yeah. This is a good year for the Yankee-Red Sox rivalry.
Oh, yeah.
Both teams are really great. So it's nice to see.
Yeah, it stirs renewed interest in those who had sort of lapsed away, and it's a great rivalry, and the two cities are so close together. It's just and both cities are very baseball astute. I mean, they're very good sports fans. They know the game. So, because I remember the great ovation that Derek. My son was at the game. His last game was up in Fenway Park, and the Red Sox fans, gave him a tremendous ovation.
Yeah, that's nice when they do. I remember. I think it was Ted Williams. The Yankee fans gave Ted Williams a day. They did that with visiting players back in the times.
Oh, a great play, yeah.
Yeah, I mean they recognized greatness, and that was Cal Ripken got wonderful farewell tour his last season.
Right.
They recognized not greatness so much, but his longevity and his ability to play day in and day out.
Yeah, I've said this before, and I definitely respect. Of course, I respect anybody who ever played minor league baseball, let alone a Cal Ripken. I don't know if that streak was in the best interest of the Orioles. I think there were times when he might not have been certainly at his best, but even 75%, and they kept him in there. So, but I definitely think longevity, much to be said for that. Not that Koufax wasn't great for those 5 or 6 years, and unbelievably great, but a Warren Spahn who could do that for 20 years.
Yes, Spahn.
You'd think.
Now every day in the paper, this guy's hurt or this guy's arm or Tommy's on surgery. The way that goes, it does make these guys with long streaks. I don't know.
Well, not just long streaks, just the ability to pitch 9 innings, time in and time out.
Oh,
nobody does it.
I got a 9-inning shutout for my A's out here. I follow them in the American League. I'm so close in proximity to the ballpark and all of that. This guy Mingden pitched a 9-inning shutout last night.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
Which
so rare today.
Oh, yeah.
So rare. Incredibly
6 innings
rare.
and you pull the guy.
Yeah, even if he's got a no-hitter going. They did that with Guimaraes and the Yankees a couple, but they had a real reason for doing that. The guy was just a rookie. He never pitched that long in his career. They were more concerned about blowing out his arm than losing the game, I think. So they did pull him. But and I thought
I have to say I'm very proud of my grandson. He hasn't missed 1 inning of T-ball.
Well, that's great.
Oh, yeah, they play 2 innings, sometimes 3, and he's fallen asleep in the outfield a couple of times, but he came right back to hit.
Yeah, it's cute watching those little kids. Yeah, those little kids are really cute.
Greatest. I was watching something this morning, speaking of, well, not 1949, but 1968. I get it. Well, I was CBS this morning. I think it's out here. Stan, it's on at 6:30 to 8 in the morning. I don't know. It used to have like it was Charles Carroll years ago. Then not Robert Osborne. Oh, what's his name? They got
Charles Osgood.
Charles Osgood was great. CBS Radio too.
Yeah. And they do. It's a magazine show, but it's not 60 minutes heavy. It's
right. Exactly. Yeah. It's fun. Go ahead.
I love it. And this morning they were saluting, so to speak, things from 1968, which hard to realize it's 50 years ago.
I know, isn't it incredible?
So they were talking about Hair. The show Hair premiered then, and how it changed musical theater. And
oh yeah.
And NBC is going to be doing, this should be interesting, a live production of it later this year.
Yes.
Music.
Well, there's nudity in the show.
Yeah, I wonder if I can't.
A lot of close-ups.
Yeah, right. Diane Keaton was in that show, and I forgot where I read or something. She would not appear. She wouldn't take her clothes off.
You mean in the original show? She was in that?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we saw it in London. That was our first year living in Britain, and we went down to the West End and saw it. Yeah.
I thought it was great. I still love Age of Aquarius.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Sunshine
and
then
there was a little Cowsills did a version of Hair, the song, as a popular song. And,
right.
They said, and spaghetti. That's what they did. Hair down to here, da-da-da. But my point was that the Cowsills had a kid, one of the Cowsills, who played pro ball. I think he might have even made it to the majors. But am I a wealth of absolutely trivial knowledge that means jack in the whole world?
He was a son of a Cowsill?
Could it be son of a Cowsill?
Could it be Milky Cabrera?
That son of a cow.
Could it be? That's right.
Milky Cabrera.
Milky.
Tito.
Speaking of laughs, another segment this morning was, because again celebrating 1968, was they showing quick moments from Laughing.
Oh yeah.
That was a funny show.
That was an incredible year in so many ways. I mean, you had the Democratic convention in Chicago with the rioting and
assassination.
Dr. King, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was,
And Ted Kennedy.
Bobby Kennedy.
But Ted Kennedy with that speech when they're taking Bobby Kennedy back in the train. And what a disappointment to this country that he was so socially inept that he couldn't keep it together. I mean, nowadays he'd be a shining example of morality if he were running against Trump. But we missed out on a true liberal who could have made a difference, as we did with both brothers. And
Right. Yeah, I mean, Ted Kennedy was the one who really worked very hard to get Medicare expanded and to get work with to bring about what became Obamacare and education.
What will we remember his famous saying? Get those cameras off my lawn.
I don't remember that at all.
Mm-hmm.
So,
who's that?
Ted Kennedy.
Oh.
Get the cameras off my lawn. A lot of negative notoriety there along the way.
Well, didn't he
I
promise that?
understand, though. I've had trouble with the paparazzi every now and then. It was.
Me too. I could hardly hit tennis balls off a wall without them coming over and going. Oh.
Yeah, I turn around. I'm trying to meet a nice young lady of 74. I wish I was.
I got that grandmother for you.
Well, that's why I avoid speeding through tunnels, because of the paparazzi chasing me. I don't want.
That's right. Especially if you're in the royal party.
Right. Yeah.
And they don't happen to like you. That poor Megan sleeps with one eye open. Oh, yeah. We get her yet?
They seem to love her over there. They seem to really take to her. The two sons are actually wonderful guys, from what you can tell. I mean, what you know of impersonally. But I mean, they certainly don't seem like hoity-toity and very aloof and, I'm royalty, you're not. I mean, they seem like really regular guys, and who seem to be enjoying what they're doing, which is, I don't know what, but they're doing. They have official.
Well, I think that's the idea. They really don't wake up and put on work boots.
No, but they did serve in the military, which is more than we can say for our president.
Well, yeah, and the fact that Harry was in Afghanistan.
Yeah, as a pilot. Yeah, a helicopter pilot.
Yeah, that's. He could have been killed. Well, obviously.
Right. Oh, yeah.
No, that was, and it looks like he does a lot of charity work and going to other.
Yeah. Well, that's basically what they do. Yeah, that's basically what they do. I mean, they're all heads of various national charities and environmental groups and things like that. I mean, the service they did in the military, I think, was. I mean, even though all of these guys, for going way back, always wearing military uniforms when you saw them in Philip and Mountbatten. Well, Mountbatten was in the military, but some of these Prince Albert, people like that, they always wore the men wore military uniforms all the time, but most of them were not in the military, except I guess as an appointed head of whatever it might be, the Dragoons or the Royal Scottish, whatever.
Hey,
I'm trying to picture
Captain Kangaroo tried to get a military pension at the end there, and that. Okay.
I'm trying to picture Henry VIII in basic training. That would have worked. A tan hut? I'll give you a hut in a minute.
Yeah.
Speaking of Captain Kangaroo,
as nice as these people are, these royalty pretend to be, and they give charity work, they give of their time. It's a mindset when somebody irons your underwear and lays it out for you to wear.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a basic mindset of I'm something that you're not.
Yeah, well, they help them get dressed too when they put on all this regalia,
That's true.
And I was reading they have there are all sorts of rules and regulations, like tiaras. Meghan couldn't wear a tiara till she got married, because that's in a royal family you can't wear a tiara if you're an unmarried princess or whatever. So then she was able to wear a tiara, which I think is a big plus for the job. Wearing tiara, but only in the evening. Can only wear it in the evening.
No, not on the tennis courts.
No, not on the tennis.
Did she wear one at the wedding?
Well, no, she couldn't because it was you have to be after you
afterwards?
get married. Yeah, I think that evening when they had that party, she was able to. But there are some really strange rules. I've mentioned in the past that you couldn't be divorced in the presence of the Queen. That's why when we went to Royal Ascot and sat in the royal enclosure, we had to tell the embassy, affirm that we had never been divorced. They have a lot of that's gone by the books. So has the idea that it's the male heirs that inherit the throne, unless there's none left. But
is it true as a prince you have to wear boxer shorts and not briefs? I read that somewhere.
Mike.
Just that you ask, Michael, gives me cause for concern.
Because I'm losing my mind.
Not only that, I remember when my tiara got me out of the Air Force.
Oh.
You and Klinger.
There you go.
Right.
See? You know what? That's as funny as that is. Could that have happened? Guys showing up in drag or being very gay and they say, all right.
I'm not going to mention his name. We had this guy that we worked with who eventually did get rifted out. I don't know if he was trying or what. He'd come in every day. He says, don't touch that computer. Don't touch it. It's dirty. He would just say, oh, it's dirty. It needs dusting. Don't touch it. And eventually, that kind of stuff, it just didn't sit well at that time.
I just thought of the worst.
Now when they need troops and what have you, it's okay. You can be anything you want when the government needs you. But so it's all based on that. But I think the military's changed. It's nice that.
Yeah.
Now they have transgender, right?
Yes. But he's trying his damnedest to stop that, despite the fact that the military seems to have no interest in doing it. Neat is seeing these women fighter pilots come back, and like the one who piloted the plane recently that landed safely after.
Oh yes.
She was a fighter pilot in Afghanistan, I think. I mean, incredible stuff.
I heard of something, speaking of women in the military and how far it's come for the better and for the good. If you were a World War II woman fighter pilot, and there were some, and you happened to get killed, your family would have to pay to bring your remains back.
Really?
You sure about that? That doesn't sound right.
I know I heard that from a credible source, or I read that that's how women were looked at in the military.
Wow. I know the women that actually were pilots, for the most part, transported planes from one base to another so that the men pilots could go fight. That was that Women's Army Air Force group, and they were mostly trained to just transport planes, usually domestically, from one, say from California base to somewhere in Texas or whatever, as they moved the planes to going overseas. But I never heard anything like that. That doesn't sound right.
Okay. I could stand corrected at any time. Could be sitting, but it's...
I know the only problem that the women pilots had was that they couldn't park the planes too well. Sort of left them out in the middle of the field,
Yeah. Well, that will happen as teaching traffic school. You can never say, and Michael will agree, you can never refer to any one group of people because you're licensed by the state and you're.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
You can never go. There are some people that shouldn't really be driving. For instance, you couldn't say that. You had to be very, very careful of the way it is.
In all of the years I did, I never even thought of that. It's a whole other thing. What I did find is that a lot of girls from the Philippines were not only very pretty, this has nothing to do with traffic, but also had wonderful sense of humor.
Oh.
I don't know why I mentioned that, but
well, I do.
Mention it.
For good reasons. That's fine.
No, they were wonderful.
I'll tell you a very funny story that may not be all that funny, but so traffic school, and a man comes in with a woman, and he says, a Russian guy with a heavy Russian accent, she doesn't understand Russian all too well. Make sure that you explain stuff to her. English all that well, make sure you explain stuff. So, going through the class, you'd ask people, can you understand this? You have little quizzes, you have a little thing. She didn't understand a damn thing. So I could not, in good conscience, and more so, I didn't care, more so, I was always worried about being written up.
Right.
You know, this guy gave a certificate. Obviously, the woman spoke no English. There are other traffic schools to go to that she could have gone to. So this guy had the woman in traffic school for 8 hours and comes to pick her up. Where's the certificate? I said, I can't give her a certificate. And he was absolutely, she didn't understand. She didn't know what the hell was going on one way or the other. He was furious. I was not going to give her a certificate. I was just worried about my job. And the idea that, I told him coming in, if she doesn't understand, blah, blah, blah.
I was going to say, coming in.
Yeah, but it was his time and all that, and he was quite angry. And I said to him at the end, don't get mad, get glad.
Okay.
It was that. Don't get mad, get glad. Vlad.
Vlad.
Oh, Vlad. Okay.
Right. Made me laugh if no one else.
Well, I'm glad it did.
I had a student like that when I was teaching it was actually a summer school course at Northern Virginia Community College. I taught freshman composition. And I had a student one time who had flunked the class during the regular 2 semesters. He'd flunked it twice. He was a Korean, and he spoke very, very little English. And I remember in researching his background, he'd come from quite a wealthy family. And the idea was he would finish after 2 years at community college, pick up his English, and then go on to a 4-year school, 2 more years at a 4-year college before he went to work on Wall Street, I think it was. He had a job already waiting for him from some big brokerage firm. Yeah. So, and his parents were getting increasingly upset that he didn't pass this thing. Well, Korean to English is not easy, and just as English to Korean isn't easy. So, he wrote this. We had all these different assignments for them to do, and in his favor, the summer school class was really truncated. It was like 4 nights a week, so he had to go home and really write this essay, come in the next day and read it and go through it. Anyway, the assignment called for writing about an experience that affected you greatly. And he came in and he started to read this thing in a very bad English about an elephant. And there was nothing in there. As he finally explained to me, he saw this elephant on television, and he was impressed by the elephant. That was his life-altering experience.
And he's going to go on Wall Street.
Yeah, and so toward the end of it, I said, look, your English really isn't good. You just, you can't pass. And I gave him an example that I said to him, I said, you've got to take this all over again because you're really cheating yourself like this. I know cheat. That he understood. He got very angry because he thought I was accusing him of cheating. And that wasn't the case at all. But I couldn't pass him either. It was just awful. And that's when the division, the chairman of the department started to tell me, all these stories about his family and how they sent him here, and he had to complete it in 4 years, and he was falling behind, and he was getting very upset. So anyway, yeah, I can understand how that guy would be upset. It probably was his girlfriend or wife, right? And he needed her to drive.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. And to go out and make money. And that's another thing in California. I don't know, Michael, have you realized or noticed, as I have, that they'll run anyone through to get a license. You don't have to do it just automatically because it just keeps the economy going. And the state needs to get the taxes, and it's all about money, not the safety of folks. And that's
I must admit I haven't paid attention, so to speak, for that. I'm more conscious of the age of some drivers, being in their 90s.
That's true. That is true. And but like with anything else, you can't judge simply by age. And I say that because I've known so many people. I've interviewed 5 really noteworthy folks. Bob Wolf in his 90s, Irv Noren in his 90s, 2 or 3 other people that who are so with it and so articulate and so their memories are so intact that it keeps me going in the sense that, stereotypically when you're 90, you're spitting in your own beer or whatever, drooling in your own drool, so to speak. And
that brings up for me such a topic that, it's close to me, so to speak, because I go to the Jewish home. I volunteer, and there's a woman who is 102. Now, there's a number of people. There's about 20 to 30 people over 100.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's nice.
And, most of them they're still here, but they're not, if you know what I mean. But this woman is 102, and there's a book there, and I'll open up the book to old songs. I mean old songs. And she remembers every lyric, and she just kind of softly sings it, and I'm just sitting there going, that's phenomenal. She's so sharp. If I don't feel good, I feel stupid because she's a woman 102, and she's my hero.
Look at us in our 70s with our memories intact, our voices, in good voice, in good spirit, in a good way towards humanity. It's nice.
Yeah,
and
then you mentioned, like we mentioned on the baseball segment, there was Babe Ruth at 53 who looked 83 or 93 when he died. He was only 53. But I heard an interesting statistic.
Lou Gehrig was like 37.
37.
Oh,
he was 38.
What are we
he was a week from being 38. But, I heard a really interesting statistic.
Climb above ground, if not more. And for that, we need to be grateful. And if anything, to pass on to people who think, because I know how I thought of people our age when I was in my 20s.
Oh, yeah.
I had no appreciation of learning from folks' experiences. Not no appreciation, but certainly not as much. I'll just say to my audience, these gentlemen are in their mid-70s, and they've got it together pretty well to accomplish.
Well, I must tell you, we've all been sort of preparing for the day when John McCain passes on, and we say, he's 80-something, and okay. His mother is still alive. Could you believe? 104.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, it was almost like I just stood up in the chair. It was so incredible, and no one seems to have mentioned this before. It came in a story, and because the thing, John McCain, it's.
Hey, I hope he outlives Trump.
Oh, yeah.
That would be really nice.
I hope he outlives Trump and dies 2 days from now.
That's all right.
But the mother's 104. Well,
yeah, isn't that incredible? Yes.
Yeah, and
kind of horror, as they would say.
Behind. Be careful what you wish for, because Pence is more hateful than a lot of
I know. But, what you were saying, Ralph, my mother always used to, because I used to sort of scorn old people and driving or walking down the street slower, things like that. She said, you wait till you're their age, then you'll see.
Yeah. Right. Well, there was an expression, I think it was Don Michaels who told me this one, of an old friend of mine. We mock the things we are to be.
That's very good. That's absolutely true.
Yeah. Which is why I am now so conscious. And not that I made fun of the people at the home there, but not anymore. The other day, as an example, I usually speak to the people for about an hour and a half, but after an hour, I just wasn't feeling good Thursday. I just had to leave, and some of these people were in better shape Thursday than I was, and one of the activity people, she refers to the older, to the men there, the residents. I've heard her say Papa. So when I said, I have to go early, she says, go home, Papa, take a nap. She didn't say it in a bad way.
Yeah, I know, but still.
An old guy to her.
I know.
But when she said Papa, so I'm going, just what you said, Ralph, I could be there one day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And,
I know.
But you're going to be there with
not
dignity.
Not a pleasant one.
Just hope to be there with dignity. That's
right.
That's it. And we should have a way out if needed down the road, all of us. And
yeah, I know.
I didn't mean to bring that up. I talk about happy things.
No, it's life, and you got to talk about it occasionally.
Well, I don't like it when I'm checking out at the grocery and they say, "Do you need help with your bags?" No, I don't need help with my bags.
But
I've got my car.
David.
Yeah.
This is why we're friends for like
100 years. Yeah.
Because I do that line in my act.
Oh, do you?
I do that exact thing. That's brilliant that you just said it. Because I do it in my act where she says, where they looked at me and say, do you need, I said, I went in one day, I bought a yogurt. One yogurt, and the cashier said, do you need help to your car?
No, the ones I like, you got 9 items.
Big laugh.
Do you need a bag for that? No. I'll just gather them up and put them in my arms. And you can't say.
Yeah.
Well, I need a bag.
But
you don't have too many.
Thing about,
the age. That's the thing. You're too enfeebled to carry. A paper bag with handles, no less. Yeah, no, really. With the Harris Teeter chain, you can get bags. I hate the plastic bags. I refuse to use those things. They're awful. The paper bags are recycled, so I ask for paper, and they usually double bag them because you buy a couple of bottles of Coke and it's kind of heavy. So, but the two bags, all of their bags, paper bags, have handles on them. Mm-hmm. So it just makes it even easier to carry. And when they're double bagged, the chance of the handle breaking is even less. So, but it just yeah. So just.
Oh, wow, that's amazing! You did almost per word.
Oh wow! But it does. I mean, I really have felt it. It was funny. I guess this goes back about 10 years now, 10, 12 years. I went into a place where I know, like one of these big chain drugstores that sell groceries and stuff. And for some reason, I think I bought a bottle of wine. Maybe it was on sale or whatever. I wasn't there to buy a bottle of wine, but as I did, and I came up to the cash register, the woman asked to see my ID. No, really? And she was a kid, and so I said, "Thank you. You've made my day. Here's my ID."
Yeah. She asked for your ID.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
God.
Yeah.
Well, maybe she thought it was a witness protection program or something.
Who knows?
Yeah, something. What is? Now, on Saturday mornings, I go with a bunch of guys, or I don't go. I meet a bunch of guys at Marie Callender's is the name of this, I guess, restaurant. But it's, for whatever reason, it's the clientele are either old or deceased is what the clientele is, and they actually give you a walker when you come in, and they cater. They'll chew your food actually if you want.
For a little extra, of course.
For a little extra. So you leave a nice tip. You say thank you. I mean, they're so old. I don't understand what there must be something, the food, the prices, but the clientele is, they're up there. They're up there.
One of the best lines I've ever heard about that, I was interviewing.
The muffins are on Social Security, let's put it that way.
Yeah, bouncing down the street. Colleen McCullough, who wrote The Thornbirds and a bunch of other books, she was a wonderful woman. She was Australian, big, jolly, heavy-set woman. And I was interviewing her once, and she was telling me about the island. She lives on an island off the coast of Australia. I forget what the name of the island is at the moment. She said, well, she says, no one really comes here except honeymooners. So we say the only people who come here are the newlywed and the nearly dead.
And sometimes you can't tell the difference between the two, by the way. Or the four. All right, guys. Good show, as usual.
Yeah, good
I
show.
enjoy your company
yes.
on Sunday. That's the best thing I can say. It's an option for us. We're here because we like it. And if anybody out there likes our offerings on the network, on this show, please box up some gently used books and take them to the Head Start program wherever you are. Kids need to read, they need to get ready for school, be school prepared, and they need to develop an imagination beyond what they get in the devices and the games and the war games and whatever. Get them some books. They need it. That's why they need the Head Start program. That's why the kids that get the books need it the most. It's the Head Start, and our kids need that in the future. They're certainly not encouraged to by the current administration and the president's woman, who the woman in charge of education is absolutely a joke. So that's an editorial opinion. It doesn't necessarily reflect the who cares what it reflects? It's my opinion. I didn't say fuck 'em, did I, or something like that? Who cares?
No.
No, I haven't said that. So have a little respect.
So listen, you guys have any thoughts of what I should do for the rest of the day? Because I hang up and then I'm
take a nap, Papa.
Take a nap.
I want to tell you something, Stanley. That's all the fuck I do. So, no, I'm serious. I'm so tired of napping. So if you can think of it, call me back.
Well,
right.
I have always walked a lot. I'm serious.
Yeah, I was going to say, train for a marathon.
Yeah, a marathon.
No, not a marathon.
No, but you're right. I got to take a walk today. I got to get out of the house.
It's a beautiful day.
Just walking around makes you feel good, and bring a piece of paper and a pencil in case you think of something. You can write it down. Seriously.
That's what my daughter said. David, could I ask you a quick question?
Yep.
Did you get the email I sent about 2 weeks ago about the different TV shows?
No.
No?
No.
Oh, okay. I'll send it again.
And make sure it's D. Hubler, because sometimes people do without the dot and it just disappears.
D. Hubler. Okay.
Yeah. At Verizon.net. Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go. I'll take a walk. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Be well, guys.
Yeah, be well.
Thanks again.
This was wonderful. This was wonderful.
I'm glad you like it. That makes my day.
Oh, it's great. Great.
Adios, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.